What is up, Minties? The Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and today we're going to go over the list of out-of-print DC Omnibuses, Omnis, and Absolutes. So we got quite a few. Stay tuned. And welcome back, Minties. Now, before I get started, I want to say that I am leaving out books like the Death and Return of Superman, the first two printings of those, or the original Teen Titans Omnis, New Teen Titans, because those have been reprinted and they have newer and better bindings, so those are quite available. Also, some of these that I'm adding on the list have been solicited for a reprint, and I'll get to it, mainly talking about Absolute Dark Knight, but I just left it on this list just in case they keep canceling it and resoliciting it later. Now, before I get started, here's a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you Minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Now, we know that DC has a habit of reprinting some of these books. Some of these Absolutes and Omnis have been reprinted, such as the case of Infinite Crisis. And also recently they let Batman, the White Knight, and the Tom King Mr. Miracle book go out of print, and it came back into print. So hopefully some of these will be reprinted. Okay, we're going to kick off the list with the Omnis. First on the list is Animal Man. This is the Grant Morrison era. It's out of print. Then we have Batman by Neil Adams. Brightest Day is out of print. Then we have DC Comics The New 52. That is the really crappy collection where all the number ones are collected in there. And then the New 52 Villains is also out of print. Now, the original Flash by Jeff Johns are out of print. I wanted to mention those. So, Jeff Johns 1, 2, and 3. There's a newer version coming, but like I said, I think maybe it's my lack of hope in DC that makes me put these on the list. So, the original ones, Flash 1, 2, and 3, are out of print, but hopefully we'll have some newer versions and they actually come out. Keep in mind that Volume 3 does have an error in it. It had a printing error, so keep an eye on that version, which printing you get. Make sure you get the second printing of that if you are buying the original printings. Hawkman, another Jeff Johns book. So speaking of Jeff Johns, this one recently went out of print, and this is JSA Volume 2. Just Imagine DC Universe by Stan Lee. That one is out of print. It's been out of print for a long time. You can get it dirt cheap, and they're starting to come out with like trade paperbacks of those. That's the one where what if Stan Lee had created characters like Green Lantern and Flash and Superman? Sleeper Omnibus. This one only had one printing, so I want to see this one back. Another one that just recently went out of print is Super Sons. What a phenomenal book, too. I'm also adding Starman 1 through 6 on here. I know that Volume 3 is the hard one to find, and they have solicited one. I just don't trust DC, and I'm afraid that they might cancel it. So just in case, playing it safe, adding 1 through 6 on the list. And keep in mind, they're not oversized hardcovers like your traditional omnibuses. These were the early release of Omni, so they're standard size hardcovers. And then Teen Titans by Jeff Johns. That one just recently went out of print too, and that's a good run. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is so people don't go out and flip books, right? That's not the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this mainly to inform those people that are trying to get into this series. For example, I'll use JSA. If you're trying to get into JSA the omnibus way, just know that Volume 2 is going to be hard to find, and you may have to go to an aftermarket place like Amazon or eBay to get those, because they're no longer available at places like Cheap Graphic Novels or even Amazon. But if you find it at a local comic book store, or if you find it at a convention where some of these books get liquidated and sometimes you can get them on the cheap, absolutely do that. I highly recommend it. And I tell everybody, just be patient and wait around. Unless a book is limited edition, most of these will be coming back into print in some way or form. Now we have to remind you guys to smash that like button, please. Don't forget to do that, and to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet and you enjoy the content of the channel. And hit that notifications button too. Alright, moving on to the absolutes. This list is a little shorter, I think. No, never mind. I can't count. Uncanny Omar cannot do math. So, starting off with Batman and Robin. That's been out of print, but it's back as an omnibus. And here's one that I talked about earlier. Absolute Dark Knight. The new printing keeps getting delayed and canceled, delayed. And until it's out, I'm not going to believe it. And people keep asking me when it's coming out. Well, the latest I think I saw was... No, actually, that got canceled too. December is the latest that I saw. So, I don't know. DC, right? Batman Dark Victory. That one's been out of print for a little while. That is the follow-up to The Long Halloween. So they do have an omnibus format of that. So if you want all of Jeff Loeb's Batman stuff, with the exception of Hush... you can get the Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale omnibus that has the Haunted Night that leads into the Long Halloween and then Dark Victory. Crisis on Infinite Earths, that one has been out of print. I think they've only done one printing of that. Absolute Death, there is a solicit with a new one under the Black label instead of Vertigo label, but leaving it off the list just in case. Final Crisis, which had a binding issue, I remember that, or the spine kept breaking. Green Lantern Rebirth is out of print. Green Lantern, and actually I've seen that in liquidation, so you might be able to find that on the cheap. Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War is out of print. Identity Crisis, and I never owned that Absolute, but I know it had a printing error, and I cannot. So look into that before you buy it. Joker, Absolute Joker and Luther's out of print. Absolute Justice. I love this story, and they just recently released a deluxe edition of this, which takes us to this beauty. When I said that most of these are going to get reprinted, this one's a little iffy because this is Absolute JLA Avengers or Avengers JLA. It is written by Kurt Busiek and drawn by George Perez, but it's one of those Marvel DC properties. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a trade paperback, which were available before, but I don't know if they'll ever reprint this Absolute. So that's one to definitely keep an eye out if you ever see it out in the wild and for a decent price. Not over cover. At least I don't. You guys, that's your own money. You can do whatever you want to. You're all grown people. Absolute New Frontier is out of print. I hope they redo that one with the last story that was not collected in the previous one. Darwin Cook's final story for New Frontier. It wasn't collected in the previous version of Absolute New Frontier. And then the ones that broke my heart because I was waiting on the omnibus that never came. And that is Absolute Promethea. 1, 2, and 3 gone. That one's it's a hard topic to talk about. Absolute Ronin is out of print. Absolute Superman for Tomorrow is out of print. This damn thing, I still see it. I think, where was the last place I saw it? I saw it at a Half Price Books, at least here in America, and it was going for like $20-something. So, I'm sure it's easy to find. This one here is Absolute Top 10, and my buddy Kyle sent me this book because he found it for me. That was, I remember because I was missing it from my shelf. I was like, how am I missing this? Now, the ones that I recommend watching out for, because I'm worried about how much their print run was, and that is Absolute Transmetropolitan. Uncanny Omar talk pretty one day. Absolute Transmetropolitan Volume 3. That's the one I would keep an eye on, because it's a Volume 3 of a series that they didn't even do a huge print run of. So if you're trying to go the Absolute route, either start with Volume 3, or get all 3 of them if you can afford it, or just remember that maybe the thicker trades that are coming out will be a better way for you to go. As far as Omnis, honestly, for the most part, I see these Omnis, with the exception of maybe one of Jeff John's JSA. Because Volume 2 is weird that Volume 2 went out of print before Volume 3 did, but Okay, so this was the Uncanny Omar. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications, Redbubble, where you can find our t-shirts at Redbubble, and stickers on Redbubble. We are also on Patreon if you enjoy the content of this channel and want to support us that way. You get exclusive videos and comprehensive reading polls and behind-the-scene bloopers and things like that, because we do have a few of those. What else? Don't forget to check us out on our social media. We'll be posting more questions like what Absolute or DC Omnibus would you like to see reprinted? And that is at Near Mint Con. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So we'll probably put that poll or that question up on Facebook sometime today or tomorrow. What else? I think that's it. I think I covered everything. Check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, and hopefully we'll get a bunch of these reprinted. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you for watching, and remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint.